Hi, everybody. Nice to be with you once again here for collective worship. Can I just say before we start how proud I was to see the boys and girls doing their remembrance bit on the online service from the infant school. Really delighted to see that. Well done, everybody. So proud of you. And thank you very much for doing your bit. Well, Remembrance Sunday, we know all about remembrance, don't we? About the Remembrance Sunday and what it was all about. And today I've got a story for you from the World War II. Very nice story. Of course, our value is about thankfulness, isn't it? And there's another word we can use as well in that, and that's gratitude. I wonder if any one of you know what gratitude means. Well, the dictionary tells us it's the quality of being thankful. It means being thankful to somebody for something they've done. That's a gratitude, or it's being thankful for where we are, what we're doing, lots and lots of things. So gratitude is another word as well we can use to describe our thankfulness. So I'm going to tell you a story about a dog. Now I've got a little dog here. I love this little dog. It's my little puppet that I love, and I shall show him to you now. Here he is. Say hello to the boys and girls. Hello, boys and girls. Isn't he gorgeous? Isn't he just lovely? He's a beautiful little puppy dog, and I think he's super. He sits on my bed, and I really like having him there. Now you just sit down there and have a little sleep and be good. Now, the dog we're going to talk about today isn't as beautiful as that little dog. In fact, I think we could describe him as a scruffy little black dog. And what happened was that several British soldiers were caught in enemy territory. They'd been cut off, and they took shelter in a deserted village. Keeping low against the ruins of a house, they heard a whining noise coming from inside what was left of the building. One of the soldiers, whose name was Jack, crawled into the rubble to find a scruffy black dog cowering there. It was very weak, but it wagged its tail to show that it was pleased to see someone. Jack stroked its head and then lifted it up and carried it outside to show the others. Must have been left there when the enemy stormed the villages, one said. The soldiers called the dog Lucky because he was lucky to be alive. The men and the dog stayed in hiding for many days, sharing food, warmth and friendship. You can imagine that little dog was very, very thankful, and I'm sure he showed his gratitude by running around and taking care of, making sure that all the people were okay. You know how dogs do. They come up for a stroke and look at you and tell you that they really like you, don't they? Anyway, one night, Lucky seemed restless. He sensed that something was wrong. Jack was asleep. But Lucky pulled at his sleeve to warn him because he knew there was something going to happen, something awful. Soon, the soldiers realised that a small battalion of German troops had entered the village. Well, they lay low and hoped that they wouldn't be found. But suddenly a figure seemed to appear from nowhere. And when this figure saw Jack, he jumped at him. Lucky sprang into action and leapt at the enemy. He did all sorts to try and stop him from getting at Jack. He actually saved Jack's life. Anyway, they managed to escape, and all the other soldiers and Lucky managed to go to safety, and they knew it was time to leave their hiding place and make for the coast before the enemy reinforcements arrived. They eventually made their way to the coast, where they managed to signal to an English ship. A dinghy was dispatched to pick them up. Jack was the last to be weighed out to it. Lucky stood shivering on the shore. Jack looked back at him and couldn't bear to leave the faithful dog. He turned, scooped him up in his arms, and then carried him through the waves. Now a sailor standing by to steady the dinghy said with indignation, "You can't bring that animal with you. He'll eat all our rations." "Don't worry," Jack said. "He can have half of mine. If it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't be here today." "Okay, hop in then," said the sailor. A happy soldier, holding a bedraggled dog that was wagging its tail, was helped into the dinghy. You see, Jack and Lucky had formed a real bond, and they knew that each of them were thankful to the other for saving their life. They had a lot of gratitude for what each other had done for each other, and that was why Jack just couldn't possibly leave him on the shore. The soldiers arrived back in England safely, and after a short time in quarantine, Lucky was reunited with Jack. The war was now over, and Lucky lived with his grateful friend to the end of his days. Isn't that a lovely story? Isn't that lovely to show how not two people, but a man and a dog could show such friendship with each other because of that thankfulness of saving each other's life. Well, I've got another story to tell you just quickly from the Bible, and it's also about a soldier. And this soldier is King David. It's in the Old Testament. And King David used to go off to do lots and lots of battles. And he wrote a lot of psalms. And this one is Psalm 100. And it begins at verse 1 and finishes at verse 5. And it's all about thankfulness. Thankfulness to God. To the way God helps him, the way God gives him all that he needs to do what he needs to go out and do when he goes to battle. And he says this: "Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord, he is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gate with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations." Now, as you can probably remember, and I've said it before, Psalms are like hymns in church today. They speak of all sorts of things, and this would have been sang on special occasions, on celebrations, on worship times, on the time after a battle. It would have been sung. And one of the things that King David showed was his gratitude. And sometimes we say gratitude is an attitude that comes out of the habit of giving thanks. And of course, attitude, we've got to have the right attitude, don't we? We've got to have a positive attitude. We've got to look at things and see them, some of those things that could be good in amongst everything. All through the Psalms, no matter what David was facing, we read his outpouring of gratitude to God as he encountered good times and bad times. David always turned back to the truth of God's goodness. This attitude often carried him through the hardest of situations. So that's what that's about, the gratitude of King David to God, his thankfulness to God for helping him no matter what. Not always it worked out right, but he knew God was there with him, helping him. And when we say thank you to God, when we say thank you to him in our prayers, do you remember last week I said I was going to make a thank you tree, and at night time say thank you to God for all the things that had happened to me in that day? Well, when we keep doing that, when we give our thanksgiving to God, and the more we do it, the more we get the right attitude towards it, then the more our heart grows in thankfulness. And the more we do that and praise God and thank him for his goodness and practice our thanks no matter what our circumstances, the more, the Bible tells us, will naturally flow out of a heart that loves him. So that's amazing, isn't it? That's really, really good that we've learned about two soldiers and two different ways of looking at thankfulness. So I'm sure there's lots and lots of questions you want to ask, lots and lots of things you want to maybe ask your teacher, maybe talk together, talk about things that you're thankful for. And I'm sure you will come up with lots of different things. So let's show our thankfulness to God now by putting our hands together and our eyes closed so we're not distracted. And we'll just say a prayer. Dear God, teach us to show our gratitude for what we have by caring for those around us and for the wonderful world in which we live. Amen. Amen. And don't forget, boys and girls, one of the great things we should be really thankful about is that Jesus loves you. Take care, boys and girls. Look forward to seeing you next time, and keep up the good work and keep safe. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.